So, good morning, everybody, and welcome to your first session of the morning following the keynote. For those of you who were there for the keynote, I do hope that you enjoyed it. I am absolutely delighted to present Barbie Goldfoot, who is going to be talking on rocking the screen and confidence with public speaking. So I'm going to let Barbie introduce herself. I'm going to be doing the tech on this, but I'll let Barbie kind of talk you through how the whole session is going to run. And with more further ado, Barbie, over to you.
Good morning. Mark Twain said there were two types of speakers, those who are nervous and those who are liars. My name is Barbie Goldfoot and my organization is called Splendid Speech. I work with people to improve virtual presentation skills and face-to-face ones when they come back. I'm really hoping that today will be a shared learning experience. So I'm hoping that you ask questions in the chat at any point of the presentation that you feel that you want to, and the lovely Jo will tell me if someone has asked a question. We are all here to learn how to rock the screen. But I want to begin by telling you, I don't know all of you, some of you I recognize, that I think you are all wonderful. Really, I do. I don't know what you do, but I do know that you've come here today, signed on, invested in yourself to learn new skills or enhance the skills that you have. And I think that is amazing. Let's face it. 2020 has been, I wanted to use a word that end in show, but I thought that would be too rude. So I've used the word challenge. 2020 has been a challenge. For most of us, our lives have become unrecognizable. We have all had to learn new skills, embrace new norms and challenges. Our world, our businesses have had to pivot, and our world, like it or not, has become virtual. Presenting effectively on a virtual platform has become very important and is not something that we should sweep under the carpet. For now, it is the key mechanism to connect with people professionally, and that's very important in business. For some people, this has been a challenge. And that's because we all have an inner voice in our heads. Does everyone agree with me that they have an inner voice in their head? Nod, wave, shake, I don't know. The little voice that says to you, what if I'm not good at this? What if I don't look right? What if my hair's not looking good? What if they don't like what I say? What if I'm not going to be heard or people don't like my post? Well, I also think people think it's one thing putting a picture on social media. It's quite another talking to camera. That voice in your head is fear. And I found this wonderful acronym online for fear, and I think it's brilliant. Fear, false evidence appearing real. We need to understand our fears and anxieties in order to move on from them. And that's really important. Jo, could we show the slide, the second slide, please?
Sure, hold on.
Bear with us, ladies. So, do you know what your amygdala are? Now, I learned this, I saw this on a presentation the other day, so I take no credit for this, but I thought it was a brilliant way of explaining our fears and anxiety when we come to presenting. The amygdala are elements of our brain. They are almond-shaped features at some point in our brain structure. Please don't ask me where they are. But the key thing about them is that they manage emotions, specifically fear, and they recognize it in others. Hold on to that because we're coming back to it. The second word on the slide is glossophobia. It's a thing. It's a real thing. Glossophobia means fear of public speaking. It's really linked to social anxiety, but there is a genuine term for being frightened to speak and present publicly. Joe, could you come back to me, please? So here's my tip 101. If we understand why we are scared or resistant or fearful of the unknown, then we can understand what our brain is doing and we can move on from it. Now, I would like to sidestep a little and firstly talk about the technical know-how of presenting virtually. Admittedly, I have some technical skill gaps because I'm asking the lovely Jo to manage the slides for me, which I have places that I have to learn. So everybody has something they have to learn. But let's focus on what I do know. Technically, your audience needs to see you and hear you. They really do. And nothing, I mean nothing, will kill a presentation faster if they can't. Number one, you need to check that you are lit properly. You don't need fancy lights. You can have a desk light shining in your face. You can use a ring light and you can use standalone lights if you have them, but they can be costly. But what you do have at your disposal and what is absolutely free is the light in the implement that you're using to record yourself, whether it be a phone, a laptop, or a PC. Look at this. If I turn down the light on my laptop that I'm speaking from today, look, see what happens. I disappear. But if I turn it right up, I get tremendous light from that implement. So always remember when you're presenting, bring up the light on the object you're recording from, because it will really help you. The other thing that you can do is, well, you should do really, is sit, well, with your, not facing, with, yes, facing a natural light. So a window or a window to the side of you, because natural light will help your presentation as well. Now, I beg you, I really, really beg you to check that your sound works. There is nothing more irritating for an audience if you hear the crackle of a microphone. Check your headsets that if they knew that they're not crackling, because it will really turn an audience off. And now, ladies, my favorite bugbear, and I apologize if some of you use them, and I'm sure you do it very well. My little drum roll, and that is virtual backgrounds. Virtual backgrounds, I see you both using them. Virtual backgrounds do work for some people, and they work very well, specifically if you have a green screen background, because then the image sticks to the background. But if you use the Zoom image background and you move at all, you move your hand, disappears, you move your hand doesn't disappear, Joe. Yours must be very good. Your hand does not disappear properly, but your hand, your head, your neck. And what that does in a virtual presentation is it breaks the illusion. I've seen this done very well with people, but they tend to have a really good green screen behind them. Green screens are expensive and aren't necessarily necessary. I was at a networking event the other day, and I met this woman who is a art dealer, relevant, but she specializes in virtual backgrounds, not the ones you get on screen, but the implements you have in your home that you can put around your presentation to show what you do in your business. The other thing I've seen, which is excellent, is people bring up pop-up banners that has their logo on. That can work. Or one of my favorites is a woman I see on networking who has an orange wall, but the orange wall is just a thing. She happens to have an orange wall, but the way she sort of structures herself is the orange wall makes her pop, so that her background is very bright and it makes her pop. I just want to talk about also wear a color that is bright. Wear a bright color or a color that makes you pop against your background, because that will help you shine. I'm seeing lots of blues in the background here, but also just use a color that makes you pop, because you will stand out. Make sure that your tech is working. Rehearse, practice, and in my case, learn the skill, but make sure it's working. All videos, slides and other things, but also make sure that you are comfortable enough to know what to do. And if you're presenting on a panel like this or a webinar and you're not, take a leaf out of my book. Ask someone to help you, because it takes the anxiety away from worrying about, will the tech work? Is it going to come on? Will everything crash? That adds a level of anxiety that no one needs. So if you can get help, ask for it or learn a new skill. So I want to give you an example of something that technically went wrong when I was in a meeting, and how you can see how this turns people off. Well, it certainly turned me off. I was in a meeting through someone I met through networking, and they introduced me to somebody else, and I had a Zoom meeting as arranged for my 20 minutes that I could meet the person. They were in the same industry, not as me as this person. And immediately as the Zoom meeting started, this person put on a virtual screen. The problem was that their Wi-Fi network connection was very bad, or the virtual screen was very bad. And what happens was it moved the whole screen all the time. So the person looked like they were moving. Along with that, their sound was very distorted. And I kept saying, I really can't hear you and I can't see you. And they said, no worries, it doesn't matter, as long as you get the gist of what I'm saying. Well, the answer to that was, I didn't buy their product. I wasn't interested in working with them, and I lost total interest in the session. But to put salt onto the wound of the session, I happened to log onto a webinar where the same person was speaking. Wasn't particularly interesting. However, the same thing happened again. They didn't necessarily have a virtual background, but they had psychedelic lighting that went on their face. What did I do? I switched off. I wasn't interested in listening. These things are really, really important in a virtual world to connect with people. So, how do we all become fantastic virtual presenters? Joe, could we have the slide, the third slide, keep confidence? Thank you. Oh, next one. There we go. So I use the 3 C's: confidence, clarity, and charisma. Back to me, Joe, please. And that's what we're going to work on today. There's the next slide, Joe, please, is a quote from Carrie Fisher. If you could just show that, please. Have a quick read of this, ladies. I love this quote, the late, great Carrie Fisher. Basically, what she's saying is, with confidence, just do it. Joe, back to me, please. You need confidence if you're going to present virtually or face-to-face, and your audience in either platform will recognize if you don't have that. You need to fake it till you make it. One of the activities, well, on the plus side of presenting virtually, they can only really see this bit of you. So they don't see shaking hands or feet, and they can hear, but they can hear a shaky voice, and they can certainly hear hesitation in your voice. So it's important that we conquer confidence. To fake confidence, I normally give people in the normal world the opportunity to stand up, put their hands on their hips, and take on the empowerment pose. We can't do that in a virtual presentation because generally we're sitting down. Although some people prefer to stand and present in webinars, and I personally love to stand because I think it gives better energy. And the reason we ask people, well, I ask people to evoke their power person pose, hands on their hips, legs slightly apart, is because we are creating connection. But we can create connection when we're presenting virtually. If you sit in your chairs and put your feet directly on the floor, that you can feel the floor, you automatically are sitting up. By sitting up and sitting straight, and you are going to appear confident. Now, if you take nothing else away from today's presentation, nothing at all, please take this. Remember eye contact. Eye contact is the most important thing. We are naturally inclined to look at the pictures on the screen, but when we're presenting, we need to look at the camera. There, my finger's on it. We need to look at that little light, whether it be on a phone, on a laptop, or on a PC, because when you're talking and it's your turn to speak on a webinar, on a conference call, on a panel, whenever, wherever, talking to the camera, connecting to the camera means that people listening to you will think that you are talking directly to them. And that's a really important trick and skill people need to gauge. It's important. When anybody does Facebook Lives or social media stuff, they are usually using a phone, and not usually, sometimes using a phone. And it's much easier to look at the camera on a phone than on a PC. This applies if you have a webcam. Now, if you have a webcam, please remember that your webcam's camera is slightly wider than the camera built into your product, and it will pick up a bigger surface. So you may not have to look directly into the webcam camera, but looking into the direction of that will give you the same effect. The reason we look into the camera is that people connect with people. People buy from people. The pandemic has robbed us of the ability to connect with people. Looking into the camera when you speak means that your audience will hear you, hopefully, and see you, definitely, and it will enable them to connect and start building a connection with you. And that helps you tell your story, and that is such an important element. The idea when you talk to the camera is that you are authentic and natural. It's important that we remember authenticity and being natural, because that can also go the other way for people when they're not that way, especially when talking to camera. My take on clarity is this: clarity of mind, clarity of message, and clarity of voice. Clarity of mind means that we've all understood our amygdalas, and we understand what they're doing to enable us or prevent us from embracing new challenges that we feel we can overcome. And if we have put those thoughts away, then our message is clear. Now, your message, what you say is important, but how you say it matters most. Now, the technique of how you say things comes into voice and message combined. There are lots of different types of presentations that people do virtually. There's sitting and talking to the camera on a Zoom session I'm doing now and hoping no one's bored to tears. There's talking to the camera. There's using slides like I'm doing in and out, but some people I've seen only use slides and talk behind them. I'm not sure what I think about that, because I think a presentation is a presentation, but hey ho, each to their own. There are also the type of free flow presentation that you see a lot on social media and videos. The idea, there's social media lives. And the free flow, I only have time to talk about one specific type of presentation. The free flow is something I want to concentrate on, because people doing social media videos and lives and putting stuff on Instagram or LinkedIn, it's a short video. It tends to be anyway. So I concentrate on the idea of free flows. Just to mention some other styles of stuff that people are doing on virtual platforms at the moment. There's interview style people are interviewing each other today. There's a panel discussion, as I mentioned, and there are even job interviews that are happening online as well. Now, there is a place for free flow speaking to camera, and it can work really well for some people. And it's really powerful when it does. It usually works well for people because the person is compelled to speak. They have something they want to say, and it's going to come out really clearly without hesitation. Hesitation is something I want to focus on a lot in this presentation, because it's a technique I can teach you to help you sound very credible. It evokes emotion when they speak like that, and a reaction. Often there is no preparation, and they speak with passion. For example, we all remember in this pandemic, take our minds, cast them back to late March, early April, a critical care nurse, Dawn Billerer. Don't know if anyone remember Dawn Billerer. She was working a 48-hour shift. She went into a supermarket and there was no food. And she went on social media and she put this video up. It was compelling for people to watch, but more importantly, it left an impact. If the aim of talking confidently to camera or on social media or on virtual platforms is that you get noticed by others and are able to build a connection with others, her video got really noticed because it was picked up by news channels, television channels, newspapers, the whole gamut picked up her video. Dawn was incandescent with rage. More importantly, as I said, her video got picked up. She did not hesitate. Her mind was clear. Her message was clear. And it was really powerful. We're going to have a look at it quickly. Joe, if you could key that up. And tell me what you think. Joe, could you play the first one? Thank you.
Come out the supermarket. There's no fruit and veg. I heard a little cry in there. I'm a critical care nurse. I've just finished 48 hours of work. I just wanted to get some stuff in for the next 48 hours. There's no fruit, there's no vegetables. I just don't know how I'm supposed to stay healthy. And those people, when people are just stripping the shelves of basic foods, you just need to stop it. Because there's people like me that are going to be looking after you when you're at your lowest. Just stop it, please.
Thanks, Joe. Do you agree that she was compelling? Just raise your hand if you think you did. She did. She spoke with truth. She was compelling. Like it or not, what she had to say.
You could ruin your home, but now we have this.
Sorry.
New sci-fi.
Something is happening.
Sorry, everybody.
That's all right. Ignore. Gremlins come in. Anyway, there are lots of different types of free flow, but I'm going to tell you a little secret. Some people make their presentations look like free flow, just talking to camera, but they're not. They're actually prepared. And that's an interesting discussion, whether you prepare it or whether you just go for it. There are advantages and disadvantages of both. I'm far more of the prepared school of thought, but that's just me. The second video I'm going to show you in a moment is Trinny Woodall. Now, Trinny, I have been a devotee of Trinny Woodall for as many years as I can remember. But what's important about Trinny is not that I'm a big fan, that's irrelevant, is we have to remember that she's trying to sell you her product. Yet she's connecting with people, and she does this all over social media. She appears authentic and challenges a lot of what people think is the right way to be in front of a camera. And yet she is engaging, she builds bonds with her followers, and she oozes, and I mean oozes charisma because she's unashamedly herself. Let's have a quick look at this video and see what you think. Joe.
The joy of italics. Oh, I'm loving them. I'm wearing them every single day. They bring such joy. And even when I'm wearing the flattest of tops, they just brighten up my face. I love every single colour and I wear them differently, but Juno is that gorgeous emerald forest shimmer, but it's so simple. I just apply it in the middle of the eyeball and I just gently go out. You've been asking me for a green for so long, and my God, ladies, have I given you a green on steroids. Isn't that divine? Look at that. Oh, lovely payoff of colour. And then the other one that I'm nearly at the end of my pot, that's how much I've been been wearing it, is Hecate, which is a molten pewter shade. And I just press that on. You just get that for maximum payoff like that. And then you can just blend with your finger to blend it out. And then it stays put beautifully and it gives that wonderful shimmery effect. Oh, look. Gorgeousness! The other two shades I wear equally. Minerva. I'll just shove that on top of Juno, shall I? Minerva is a wonderful partner for wisdom. If you love wisdom as an eye shade, put wisdom on as your base and Minerva on top. It's fantastic. And then finally, let me just put it on top of the other one, is Fortuna, which is a best friend of Fortune. Look at that. God, I could work all of them together. Such a pretty eye. And never, ever, ever be scared of shimmer, whatever your age. Gorgeous italics. Put some shimmer on your eyes to bring more sparkle into your life.
Thanks, Jo. I'll be back. Thanks. What's important to recognize with that presentation was she was Trini at her finest, but also she doesn't, technically what she does is she talks to camera and she never hesitates. Now, I've never seen in all the videos I watch of her presenting, I've never seen Trini hesitate. That is incredibly powerful, and we need to remember that. The third video and final video I'm going to show you today, these are all my social media favorites. The third video I'm going to show you today is a gentleman, I don't know if any of you follow him, called Naz Daily. He's on Facebook. Anybody follow Naz? No, don't know him. Right, Naz is a really interesting character. He is a Arab Israeli or an Israeli Arab who's gone to Harvard and embraces the world and looks at the world in a very unique way. Naz is excitable and he's jumpy and he's been doing this for a few years with millions and millions of followers. His style of presenting has changed, and again, it bucks the trend. We have to remember that he has a production team, his videos are very slick, he uses a drone, he's able to put them together well. This video I'm going to show you is something he did during the pandemic. It's a bit longer than the other ones, but bear with me, there's a point. Naz is talking about his friend Ellie Beer, who is involved with or started United Hatzalah. He's talking about Ellie because of the work Ellie does and that he was very unwell with COVID. Now, he is just talking to camera. I'm pretty sure, because I've heard him say that before, that he prepares his video, he prepares his scripts. So when he speaks, he's pretty slick. But what he's talking about in this video is emotional. He knows Ellie, he knows how sick he was, and he's very, very grateful that he's better and back at work and doing the wonderful work that he does. Let's see this video, Jo.
This incredible video has a good ending, but it doesn't have a good beginning. It's about my friend Ellie.
Hi, I am Ellie Beer, and I almost died from COVID-19.
This is a real story. Last month, Ellie was in Miami where he got infected with COVID-19. But his situation was not mild. It was severe. So severe, he went to the ICU. He couldn't speak or even breathe.
My situation is difficult. My breathing is getting worse.
The doctors put him on an induced coma for 3 weeks in the last hope to save his life. But here's the thing. People like Ellie, you don't think they can get coronavirus because they have done so much for the world. In his prime time, Ellie was a health worker. He started an ambulance service that is one of the fastest in the world. Now, he has hundreds of ambulances and ambucycles run by volunteers that go around the country to save lives entirely for free, 24/7.
Think of it like Uber, but this is for free and we save lives.
That was Ellie. And now, this is Ellie.
I know. I can't do my job.
This terrible disease goes for the lungs, attacks the lungs. I had to fight for it. I was scared about not seeing my children again.
5,000 miles away from his family, battling coronavirus in a coma, fighting for his life. But this is where the story gets better. After 3 crazy weeks, Ellie woke up and tested negative for COVID-19. He won. A wealthy donor heard about his situation and donated their private jet just to fly Ellie home to see his family. And on the way to the airport, hundreds of cars stopped by to say goodbye to Ellie while he's in the ambulance. Ellie, we love you! And after a long flight, Ellie landed home, only to be greeted by hundreds and hundreds of ambulances from the organization that he founded. He was greeted like a hero by health workers, and when he saw his family, he couldn't hold back tears.
This shows that everyone is equal. There is no difference between anyone. I'm a religious Jew. There is no difference between me and a Muslim or a Hindu or Christian. COVID-19 hits everyone, and this shows that we have to unite everyone together in the world to fight diseases, to fight disasters, and be together.
COVID-19 doesn't discriminate. Health workers get it. Ambulance drivers get it. And good-hearted people get it. But Ellie's recovery is a sign of hope that we can beat this monster together. See you next week.
Thanks, Joe. If you could come back to me. So why have I shown you these videos? You ask, maybe I can't hear you. But the reason is because how you give your message is so important. Dawn was incandescent with rage. Trini was being herself, but she had a mission to sell her new products. And Naz was talking about his really good friend who he admires and had a terrible incident, but that he got better. Each of them had a message. Someone's asking a question. I don't know if you can see, Joe.
Yes, I'm happy to ask it now. So Susie Richmond said, when giving a speech, because people are looking only at your face, it's hard to know where to hold my notes. So it doesn't look like I'm reading off a script. What do you suggest?
Oh, Susie, you're a woman after my own heart. Raise your hand because we are on the same page. I had such a situation with this because I didn't want it to look like I was reading my script, and I've prepared a lot for this. And I think that is the key, Susie. I'm actually going old school today, ladies. Old school, which is not the way you should do it. You should have little words, and everyone says, talk around your topics. I find if I talk around my topics, then I go off piece. So I like to be really focused as well. Holding your notes. You can do what I'm doing, and I hope if you see me rustling paper, it's because I'm putting them down on the floor like that, but hopefully you're not seeing me do that. I think it's about preparation, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that next, but I cannot impress enough that preparation is key. Being highly familiar, you don't have to be word perfect, but you need to be familiar with what you're going to say virtually, because when you're familiar with it, you're confident with it. And when you're confident with it, you don't hesitate. And when you don't hesitate, you don't worry if you're on the wrong page. You can go back and forward and move around. The key to notes, I think using them effectively, is knowing what you're going to say. I don't think you should ever present something and read a speech. I think you need, look, there are people who have to speak all the time at a given notice. That's different. But if you have the time to prepare, even some keywords on a page, if that's going to help you on a post-it note at the side of your laptop, that is better than just, speaking. I'm a great proponent of preparation. I really think it's important. I really do. And I think never read a script, know it well. I hope that helps.
Thank you. We'll take more questions at the end, Barbie. So if you want to carry on, I've got another question, but I'll take...
No, there'll be time at the end. I'm whizzing through things. I want to focus on how you say things, and that is your voice. Your voice, believe it or not, is an instrument, not like a singing voice, but it's a vocal instrument. and used effectively, it is an extremely powerful tool to get people's attention virtually and face-to-face. Your voice has range, it has tone, it has inflections. I'm going to do an exercise with you now. You'll all be muted, but I want you to follow to yourself and you'll see what I mean. I'd like you to take the line, a simple line, please take the dog for a walk. Dogs are big things in COVID. Everybody seems to be getting them, not me. So there we go. So please take the dog for a walk. The first time you say this line to yourself, and do not unmute yourself, and I'll say it for you as well, with you as well, is you're going to say it smiling, but listen to the tone of your voice when you do. So let's go. 1, 2, 3. Please take the dog for a walk, smiling. Please take the dog for a walk. Is anyone saying it? I don't see people's mouths moving. You are. Okay, Annabelle Reese, I can see you doing it. The second time you're going to say it is you're going to say it in a normal tone. Listen again for the range and tone in your voice. Please take the dog for a walk. And the third time you say it, I'm trusting you're all doing this. The third time you say it is you're going to say it with your mouth closed, so you're only going to have sound. That's the best way of hearing the tone and range of your voice. So here it goes. If you weren't doing it yourself, did you hear the raise and lower of my voice each time? Raise your hand if you did. You heard that my voice can move up and can move down. That enables my voice to sound interesting, really interesting. And we need it to sound interesting online because otherwise people will get bored or people will turn off or people will go to the toilet. I don't know what they do, but if you're compelling with your voice, that's very important. It's also important to remember expression, and with range and tone, you can use expressive tones, and that's going to help people be engaged as well. If I spoke to you in a dull, boring tone like this, the entire presentation, I guarantee you one by one, you would have come away from this presentation. If I did this, hello, I'm Barbie Goldfoot. I have an organization called Splendid Speech. I work with people to improve presentation skills and virtual public speaking. See the difference? It's boring. It's actually boring. And we don't want to sound boring ever. Some people who shall not be named, and I will not show you the video, use social media platforms, specifically LinkedIn actually, to think that they have to be corporate and still and one tone and speak. Even the most serious of presentations need range and inflection. There are perfect examples of this currently in our lives. Think of our politicians and our scientists that we see now on a regular basis. They're giving very, very important information that we are compelled to listen to a lot of the time. We're like them or not, we have to listen. But if you listen to those press briefings they give, even they have expression and tone in their voice. I keep thinking of Chris Whitty as an example because he speaks in a very monotone voice, but even that has expression and tone if you listen very, very carefully. We are compelled to what he has to say, so he has a bit of an in-house audience, but never mind. So your voice is a tool. Never, ever forget that. Use it well. We spoke a little bit earlier about hesitation. Now, it seems to be creeping into modern language a lot of the time. People think that it's normal. I'm here to tell you it is never, ever normal when presenting, because hesitation makes the audience think that you're not in control of the situation, that you're thinking what you have to say, that you're not in control, that you haven't prepared. I have sat through, and it's a shame, I have sat through countless video presentations, chat shows, networking groups, those are my favorite networking groups, where I play count the ums and the ahs and the ers, These are called filler words. And why we do, we all do them, I do them, and they're quite common in normal everyday presentations, in conversations, but presenting virtually or face-to-face is not a normal everyday conversation. It is a presentation, and that is different. Technically, what you're doing with your voice is this. We are all, I do it as well, I've done it today, speaking a little bit too quickly. And what we have to do is grab a breath. By grabbing a breath, we tend to want to speak again. So we grab the breath and then we speak, and a sound comes out like or These are called filler words. And we need to really, when presenting effectively, eliminate the filler words, eliminate the hesitation. Look at the 3 videos I showed you. None of them had hesitation in them. They were clear, they were slick, they were to the point. That is important. Now, how do we conquer? How do we begin to conquer the hesitation problem? It's this. We slow our speech right down. We take a pause. We breathe and we do not speak until we've taken our breath, and then we speak. Pausing for an audience enables the audience, to process what you have actually said, and that is good. That's really good. There is nothing wrong with the pause. It also, in that pause, helps you gather your thoughts. And that is important. You're gathering your thoughts internally. You're not gathering your thoughts when you speak. Never, ever underestimate the effectiveness of a pause or the power of a good breath. It will see you well. And I found this quote that I think is brilliant. So I'm going to read it because I don't know it off by heart, Susie, so you'll understand. Charisma is the sparkle in people that money can't buy. It's the invisible energy with visible effects. It's by Maureen Williamson, whomever she may be. But it's a very brilliant quote, because charisma, you can't bottle it. So what is charisma? Charisma is you at your very, very best. The question is how we get there, right? For me, charisma is being my best self. And that is being awesomely prepared. So I do invest time before I give a presentation. And I'm very confident about what I am saying. The hardest place for me to speak is panels, because you have to think on your feet. But remember, slow yourself down, give yourself a pause, take a breath, gather your ideas, and speak. This has whizzed by, this session.
I was just going to say, Barbie, we've got about just under 10 minutes now.
Oh, I'm nearly done, and then we'll ask some questions.
Lovely. So whoever's got questions, please put them in the chat. Thank you.
Brilliant. So today, we have learned tips and techniques and methodologies to enhance your virtual presentation skills. So number 1, remember this. Make sure your tech works. Ask for help if you need it. Make sure you are seen and heard. PPP. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And another PPP, whatever. PPP, proper preparation prevents hesitation. What you say matters. How you say it, I promise you, matters most. Remember, less is more. Keep it simple, streamlined, don't waffle. Your voice is an instrument, use it well. Monotone messages engage no one, and never ever forget the importance of a perfect breath and a simple pause. That's me.
Lovely, Barbie. Thank you so much. So I've got a couple of questions here. So if anybody's got any more, please do put them in the chat. CC, I don't know your name, CC. If you could write it out fully, that would be great. Said that you were in the middle of saying there was 3 video presenters and you were looking forward to hearing what she was going to say, and then a question came. So I don't know if there was another thought at the end of
yeah, I'll repeat what I said about the video. I did say the question, but the 3 videos I showed you, the reason I showed you them was because each of them had a message. Each of them, someone's got another comment there. Each of them had a message. Each of them were very clear about their message. Each of the videos had different styles of presenting. They were all being authentic. Some less authentic than others, but even Trini, who's probably the most prepared and glamorous, she is authentic. If you watch other videos, that is her. Dawn was authentic because she was so incandescent, and Naz was authentic because, well, he prepared his video, but he really connects with this Ellie Beer character and was very upset when he was sick. So what he was saying was that this man was ill, got better, and all these people supported him, which is a wonderful message, but he was able to say it in a way that connects people to this person, this Ellie Beer, that otherwise wouldn't have heard of him. So those are the reasons I showed them. It was the way they said their message. Has that answered your question?
Great, thanks, Barbie. So I have a really nice question here from Jane Rose. She's hoping to have an interview, which is a recorded interview soon. Should she turn off her video so she's not looking at herself? Does this make it easier to look into the camera?
1020%, yes, do that. No, I haven't today, and I know that I'm looking at myself. I have a tendency, and we all do this, ladies, so don't feel bad. We need to acknowledge and move on, is when we are on a recorded Zoom or we're on Zoom or something like that with another person, I tend to use Zoom as a mirror. So I'll often be fiddling with my hair and that's not effective. It's fine on a one-to-one, but in a presentation, you have to stop. So if you can hide yourself through, it's a way not to be very nervous and see yourself present. So yes, I think CC, I think that was CC.
Yeah. No, that was Jane.
Jane, I would say have a little rehearsal with it so you know what you're looking at, but also best to hide yourself if you're going to have a problem.
Now, somebody which many of us will resonate with, Fran says, I let my grey hair grow on during the lockdown and cut it short. Although I know it makes me look older, I don't want to dye it again. How can I still project a youthful image?
Well, Fran, I'm looking at you, quite liking your grey hair, actually. I think, to be honest, Fran, what you could do is what you wear and where you sit when you are presenting, and that you're lit properly. I don't think grey hair has got anything to do with having a youthful image. I just think it's where you present, how you present, your expression, your voice, your tone, that all plays into it. I think also don't be afraid. Lighting is important. Just remember that too. Lighting is very important. Be seen and be heard. And I'm sure you're wonderful.
And then we have one from M. Storen. I have recently moved to Tokyo. I do speak the language, but I'm not as smooth as a native. Do you have any tips in overcoming cultural or language barriers?
That's a really interesting question. I lived in Asia for a long time too, but not Tokyo. I hear it's very lovely. I think give yourself a break. That's the first thing, especially when you're learning the language. It's difficult. One thing I've learned from people who've had to learn a second language and live in a different place is that never be frightened to speak. That's very important. I think if presenting virtually, slow yourself right down. Do a lot of preparation before you present virtually, so you are as fluent as is able. I think you can even make it, if it's culturally appropriate, almost say, I'm not fluent yet, but I'm working on it. Audiences tend to be very forgiving when you give them foibles that you're dealing with. People want to help each other mostly. They're not trying to get you. I think that's important to remember as well. But I would slow myself right down and I would prepare. That would be very important.
Is that, I hope, I'm seeing you're nodding.
Yes, I'm looking at you nodding, so I hope that helps. And enjoy Tokyo. I hope it's better COVID than here.
Okay, and Jackie, which is, this resonates with me, Jackie, because I've run a number of workshops. How can you read the audience and gauge reactions if you can't look at them because you're looking at the camera, or because people don't have their cameras on?
Okay, the people who don't have their cameras on should at least have a lovely picture like Debbie Sheldon. She's smiling at me all the time. I think, oh yes, and Caroline Maurice as well. I think that you're gonna have to gaze. I gazed a little bit down. I was conscious that I wasn't on the camera the whole time because I had to read the room when I asked a question. It's hard and it's not the same presenting virtually as it is face to face. We cannot read the room. It is different, and we have to have different mechanisms. One of the things I did today, and it was a bit of an exercise, but I think it worked well, is I asked people to do things like ask a question, raise their hand. I was able to engage with the audience on some level, which is important to do. And I think you have to be a little bit forgiving. When it's your turn to speak, look into the camera. But when if you're not speaking, you can glance. Or when you're playing a video, or there's a slide, or something's going down, or someone's asking a question, scroll, see who's there, see if you know anyone that you can call on. I hope that gives you some help and advice.
Barbie, that is absolutely brilliant. I'm very mindful of the time and that we're going to start our next session at 11:05, so I don't want people to be late for the next session. You have been absolutely brilliant. And as somebody said, BT said, I totally love your presentation and infectious positivity. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. So thank you very much for your time, Barbie. And yes, go and have a break, everybody, and then look forward to seeing you at the next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was fantastic. Thank you.
Debbie, thank you so much.